Obviously, with mystery and suspense, it's all about suspense. It's constant, non-ending fireworks. It's an adventure that starts and it's going to hold you at the edge of your seat right to the end. It starts big, it gets even bigger. What happened? Who done it? And the more questions, the better. If there are 3 or 4 questions in the book, are these two going to get together? Are they going to separate? What's going to happen in this family if you set up family turmoil? Are we going to find the missing child? But it's got to be genuine. If it feels like just somebody throwing in devices, if you feel the manipulation, you lose them there too. If the reader's going, this is just crap, this is just the usual, somebody's trying to manipulate me. People kind of want to be manipulated, but they want it done well. If you're going to write something in the genre of mystery suspense, I think you kind of got to be aware of what's out there, not to imitate it, to avoid it. Because, I mean, one of the things you can do, let's say you don't really write thrillers, but, I know I can do it because I'm smart and, whatever, but I never read any, or I've read 4. There's a good chance you're going to write something that's already been written before. Or it's going to be very similar, or it's going to, and you're going to think it's great. And, 15 years ago, it might have been great. But so I think it's really useful to know what's written and not to write stuff like it, to totally avoid it. Okay, I know what's happened in the past. What's a new twist on this? What's a new twist on a murder mystery or a series of robberies, or whatever it is that you decide is going to be fascinating for people to read about, and fresh and new, and you're going to bring some insights to it, and this is a new kind of puzzle. I mean, look, the Da Vinci Code, all that, I mean, what was fascinating about that was just the lengths that the writer went in terms of creating this unbelievably complex puzzle. And a lot of people just found that fascinating. And it definitely was unique. I mean, I haven't read that kind of complexity in a puzzle that I can think of anyway. It's rare. So it felt very fresh to people. And one of the things with suspense is, in my opinion, one of the biggest secrets of suspense is setting up questions that the reader must have answered. Must. There's just no way. And in my books, I try to do a lot of those. When I did the first Michael Bennett, Step on a Crack, I mean, you start thinking about everything that's going on early in that book. One, which I think is really a tremendous hook for a story, there's one of these state funerals where all these leaders come from all over the place, and they're in St. Patrick's Cathedral, and somebody holds up the cathedral. That, to me, I mean, imagine that happening in real life. I mean, that's like, it makes OJ seem like a little baby tale. I mean, you're kidding me. The president, the vice president, president of France, they're all trapped in St. Patrick's Cathedral. So that's a really cool hook to me. And then where's it going to go? Who's doing it? How do they plan to get away with it? So that's a piece of it. Then we introduce this Michael Bennett, and once again, I don't write realism, but it's an interesting, and I get away with it because I make Bennett so believable as a character. But Bennett has 10 adopted children. Holy shit. And he's a detective, and he's involved with this takeover of St. Patrick's Cathedral on that particular day. And his wife is dying. I mean, this is insane, and it's ridiculous. I mean, as I say it sounds ridiculous, but as a story, a certain kind of story, not realistic page turner that you're going to make believable. I mean, I'm all totally hooked into this thing. What's with the 10 kids? How can that happen? And I like the kids. I like the way he reacts to the kids. And how does he find time in the course of these 2 or 3 days where they're holding all these captives to stay in touch? And also stay in touch with his wife, who's dying of cancer in New York Hospital. And how do you make? I mean, I think a lot of writing professors would go, "Don't do it. Don't write that story." To me, that was a tremendous challenge in terms of, no, I can do this. I can do this. I can turn this into a coherent kind of believable if you're willing to go along, suspend disbelief, because chapter by chapter, I'm like, okay, I'm buying it. If I step back and tell you the whole story, you go, oh my God, I actually try to pull that off? I go, yeah, I am. You have the whole issue of stakes. What are the stakes in this thing? I mean, all of the good mystery writers are good at hooking you into that story, hooking you into that character, getting you interested right away, having you feel that you're in the scene with that character, and you love the way they're perceiving this room or a bar or an alleyway or the tenement that they have to go up to find somebody on the 8th floor or whatever. And then once that hook is set, it's just the surprises, the twists that keep happening. Cross My Heart and Hope to Die, we have the stakes of Alex Cross's family. The whole family goes missing. We think they're dead. Alex thinks they may be dead, but he's got a tiny little bit of hope, and there's the stakes. And if he didn't have a tiny bit of hope, the stakes are, there's no stakes anymore. He must have that, and the fact that it's just a sliver makes it even more delicious. So anytime I'm feeling that I'm lagging, I'm building in another, even if it's a red herring or some misdirection or Cross goes down the wrong path, that creates some new questions that the reader, oh my God, well, how can that be? Well, that may or may not be accurate, because as a detective, he's going down some blind alleys. But that blind alley might really drive the reader crazy in terms of, oh my God, how can it be down that alley? Because I didn't see it coming, and I can't imagine how that's going to lead to a solution. It's very logical and realistic for your detective or protagonist or whatever to go down wrong alleys. They do it. That's what police work is all about. And sometimes in going down those wrong alleys, you create possibilities in the reader's mind that really make the book a lot more interesting. I mean, you can chase the wrong thing, and it's fascinating for the reader, because that possibility hadn't really occurred to them. And one of the things you have to be very careful of is, even when you're taking them down a wrong path, that it's not one where they go, oh, I got it figured out, I don't want to read it, I don't need to read anymore. That's death, mostly. I got it figured out. Close the book. Very unsatisfying. We get a series of questions, or sometimes just one or two questions that the reader must have answered or the viewer must have answered. And ideally, what you definitely don't want to do is give away the answer very quickly. The worst thing in the world is you build up this thing, and then you give it away in 2 paragraphs. And the reader goes, what? No, that needs to be a scene. That needs to be a satisfying scene. That needs to, even if it's a pretty good reveal, you got to milk it. You need to milk it. And if you can give away your secret in pieces, even better. Here's the, I don't know what it is, but there's the first clue, and there's another clue, and there's another little tidbit, and there's another little tidbit, and then voila. Now, the trick with that is you just have to be careful and smart about that. You're not giving away something where the reader goes with 40 pages left, okay, I know exactly where this is going, and I don't care. And sometimes when I'm writing an outline, or even when I'm writing different drafts of the book, I'll write in twists. It went one way in that chapter. Okay, what if it goes this way? And you always want to be open. That's where you come up with cool stuff. You keep thinking the unthinkable. Not necessarily writing the unthinkable, but thinking it. And every once in a while, one of those unthinkable things, you go, you know what? I can do that, and that would be really cool, and I can make it believable, and that will make for a really unusual, satisfying story that people won't be able to put down and that they'll talk about after they finish it. And one of the things I've done at times is I'll do stuff like one of the Women's Murder Club, I knocked her off. And it was like, oh, you're kidding. I don't believe you did that. How could you kill her? And, Jill, we love Jill. And I did it because that was the story. It had to happen there. 2, I didn't like the character that much. And three, I really wanted to set up the notion with my readers that don't assume that anyone is safe. Don't assume anyone's safe. Alex Cross is not safe. He's probably safe, but he might not be.